right, so if you're new here, this is my 5th year on Booktube, so I'm casually going through the last 5 years and my tops, my worsts, and like reflecting on, are those still my worsts, what are my tops, and then I'm gonna have them all fight each other at the end and figure out what were my definitive top 10 things I've consumed since 2020 on Booktube, and it's gonna be hard because this year was so good. I have a couple, like 4 things I didn't like that I want to just bring back from memory lane, and then I have an honorable top 10, and then I have the actual top 10. Because 2021 was too good. Too good. It was definitely, I think, my fantasy peak. There's like one other outstanding fantasy series that's going to show up, I think, in the 2022 list, but a lot of my big hitters for fantasy are 2021. So with that preamble out of the way, I will list the 2020 video down below if you want to see, because this is how I have to do it, because I can't look at all 5 years at once and fight them out. If I get like a top 10 from each, then I just have 50 books to look out, which is still going to make my brain bleed just a little bit. But let's start with more of like a disappointing book that haunts me, and that is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I don't know, like, I really liked The Poppy War. I have people who watch that review video that like miss the fact that I say I give the first 2 books 4 stars and like only pay attention to the fact that I dislike this book and think that I just like, I don't know, shouldn't have read the 3rd book because I was primed to never like it. And I'm like, no, I liked the series. And it is why I've kind of realized maybe her writing's not for me, so I'm not as excited about, what is it called, Catabacus or something this year. I've tried Babel. I gave it 3.5 stars, which is good, better than The Burning God. But The Burning God, it just was way too long for what it was accomplishing, in my opinion. And I can handle a thematic and written execution of everything is pointless. Like, that is an art thing that people do. But here, it really frustrated me. And I, like, knew how it was going to end. And reading the ending didn't, like, hit me more than just knowing how it was going to end. You know, like, and that's kind of the point, is, like, you know how things end a lot of the times. We consume a lot of stories. But you want the emotional feelings. And part of that is, like, we had a lot of side characters, and every time I started getting close to them, she wasn't writing them anymore, and then just, like, wrote them off, either making them villains or making them die. Maybe it would have hit more if I had read a short story or novelette that's between the last 2 books, but I don't think that should have been necessary for emotional fallout. I don't know. I don't like The Burning God, and have kind of decided this author really isn't for me, and it just is what it is. Another one that's just kind of like, meh, I don't love it. And I bring it up just because I feel like a lot of people don't know I've read it, and that's The Lonesome Dove. This is one of Ryan's favorite books, and that's why I read it. I think I lost a challenge or something. At 2020, 2021, a lot of us were doing challenge videos. And I really loved part 1, and I really hated part 2. And I found part 2 was just there to punch us into the ground. Like, we were only introduced to people in part 2 to watch them suffer. And I didn't like that. I didn't enjoy it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just very long, and I was bummed. And I don't love it that much. I think this one is more of like, I gave it a 3. I was hoping to really like it because it's one of Ryan's favorites and things like that. Now, these next 2 are like, I hate these. Like, hate. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Ryan and I both hate this. We have a joint review discussion on our hatred of this book. And I like Recursion. I've read Recursion by Blake Crouch. I like it. I think that's fine. I think it's, like, cool. Dark Matter is just, I don't know. It's just the epitome of, like, sci-fi thriller by a dude perspective that would be played by Matt Damon in a movie. And he's, like, the dumbest smart guy you're ever going to meet. And he's, like, the worst father I have had written in a very long time. And, like, I've read Live Ship Traders. Okay? Like, he's not actually worse than Kyle. But, like, he gets separated from his family. I'll be vague in case you've somehow not consumed Dark Matter. And it is a thriller, so spoiling a thriller seems mean, even though I think it's shitty. And all he thinks about is how much he misses his wife and how sexy she is. It's like, you have a whole son that you're missing. Like, and it's not even like a baby son. Like, it's like a full-fledged individual that he's formed memories with. Like, it's... And the sci-fi thing is so dumb. Like, the TARDIS makes more sense, and the TARDIS doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I love the TARDIS, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then worse scenes that happen. Like, so Ryan was on his commute at this point. He was taking the train, and he came home from one of his commutes. Like, what in the world just happened? That was so dumb. Like, there are some outlandish plot things that happen. So in general, I really dislike this book. I think some of my dislike has more to do with the acclaim a book like this gets because it's written by a white man in sci-fi versus if a woman had done the same thing, it's not as successful, or it's not going to be called hard sci-fi, but because it's here, people think it's hard sci-fi. It's like, well, he talked to these experts. So yeah, well, he definitely didn't listen to them because that's not how quantum works. It's not. And that's okay. You don't have to be hard sci-fi, but it's when you like have the like prestige, which I don't think hard sci-fi should have prestige, but it does, right? Like that's where we live. So anyways, I just don't like dark matter. I think it's kind of a shitty book, and I think it's a shitty main character. So yeah. And then the other one is definitely one where like, I get it if people really like it. But like me and my book twin Ben, we both just hate this book with a passion, and that is Shuggie Bane. I read this for book club, and it is to this day the only book that has caused me to go into a depression spiral anxiety attack. Which feels really mean, because in theory, this book is about people like me. People who have had to go through parental abuse because of drug addiction, right? Like, and I guess I just wasn't down to read this author's therapy session on his own life, and maybe that should have been on me, but I've read plenty of heavy literary fiction. I've read a lot of it. I've read a lot of it on drug addiction and parents and children. Like, I read Demon Copperhead, loved it. Like, I can read this material and not be so emotionally affected. And I think part of it was every chapter sucks. Every chapter is a different trigger warning. Everything is bad all the time. My book club told me with a straight face they thought this was a happy ending book. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is at best neutral ending, at best. If anything, it's about how cycles continue and you never get out of the cycles. It's sad. It's depressing and it's sad. But the point that got me down wasn't the countless things about poverty and addiction and the sexual abuse that happened. All those things are a lot to begin with. It's the story then chooses, because it's made everything so sad, to give us a moment of peace. Only so it can pull the rug out from under you. That's the whole point of the execution. Because obviously there are moments of peace for this character other places, we just don't get to see them. Because, and you know this if you've had a hard life or gone through this, you do get moments of peace in life. It happens. Life is not all shit. There are moments that are glorious, okay? Even among the shit. And this book only shows you one of those moments so that it can then make you fall on your face and watch as she fails. And I hate it. I hate it a lot. It made me so angry. Like, after the fact, it made me angry. In the moment, I was distraught. I was remembering my own life. So does that mean the art is good? Maybe. It's accurate for that moment, but I would say it's harshly not accurate because it's only showing you one heavily negative frame. Like, if this was a therapy session, the therapist would be like, you are being overly negative. Your frame is too negative. You aren't looking at everything else outside of it. And maybe it's good so people can see it and be most emotionally affected by it and they can see what it's sort of like. But I would say it's not completely accurate. And also, it's really harmful to people who've gone through it, like causing harm like that. I don't know. And like, obviously there are going to be people with my experiences who feel more seen and it feels cathartic. But I hate this book. I hate it. And I think I hated it even more after hearing how people talked about it. Because most of the people I know who read this don't have this life experience. Like, when I was in that book club, no one else had a parent who had addiction like mine. When I talk about with my friend Ben, like, he's from Glasgow. He's a gay man in Glasgow. Like, some things line up, but some things are like overly dark. Like, for the most part, I just think people like to feel shitty. And I think that's okay. But like, I just didn't sign up for it. And I was hurt viscerally. Anyways, sorry. I always hate Shuggie Bane. We're now going to spend the rest of this video talking about books that I love, though, from 2021. So, starting with the honorary mentions, we have The Night Watchman by Louise Erdrich, who I love. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning book from her. It's amazing. I also read this for book club, and it was a great book club discussion. I love her sense of community. We have a couple female characters you follow in this who are trying to make lives for themselves. It's more of a historical. And it's not generational jumping. So this is like a kind of more standard generational story, not generational, historical fiction story by Louise Erdrich, if you're ever looking for that from her. I also read Braiding Sweetgrass, which I think about constantly. And my mom has my copy. And I want her to finish it so I can like flip through it again, especially now that I have like my own home and like I'm always in my yard maintaining things and doing stuff, trying to find a balance between, you know, maintaining and then over maintaining, you know, trying to make sure there is space for the nature around me. Oh, I love Braiding Sweetgrass. The audiobook's really good, and it's a very meditative nonfiction. Interior Chinatown, I still need to see the TV show. But the Interior Chinatown book I read in one day. Again, I read it for book club. So for that big miss of Shuggie Bane, I had a lot of hits with book club that year. It is so surreal. Okay, it's a very surreal. It's all a screenplay. We have this man who's Chinese who's desperately wants to be given a different role, but he can't, like in a cop show or anything. And it reminds me a little bit of the music video Too Many Cooks. It's just like, you're in a show and it's getting a lot and you're like, what's real anymore? And I think it worked really well. I'm curious about the show. I really am. And then we've got another book club book. See, we had 4 amazing book club books and we read 12 a year. So like, can't be that mad at book club, but On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous. This is one of the first books that I know I read in the literary fiction space that was written by a millennial. And it hit. I mean, I'm not a gay man. I think, is he Vietnamese? I know he's Asian, but I actually don't know if he's Vietnamese. But he's an Asian American gay man in Massachusetts. And yeah, it was fascinating reading a literary fiction work where like the past timeline is the 90s, where I grew up, you know? It's lyrical at times, it's beautiful. He's writing these letters to his mother who can't read English. Kind of sort of coming out to her, although I can't remember if he's actually come out to her like in real life, because this is like pseudo-autobiographical but also fiction. It's about the first times he fell in love, just how he goes through life, his mental health issues, his issues with his mom. Like this, it just felt very authentic. And again, it balanced the dark with the light, as one should, because your life is both. Life's usually both. I really enjoyed that one. And so now I've got some other ones. I almost put this one in my top 10, but I really couldn't. This is Driftwood by Marie Brennan. I think about this one a lot. If you want themes about fatalism that are about living, this is a great one. Because this is a place where all worlds go to die. So everything ends. Everything has an ending. Cultures have endings. Countries have endings. Planets have endings. Whenever those things end, they go to this liminal space. And there's like kind of this cyclone at the center, and things just kind of slowly whisper out of existence. But in the meantime, everyone's living lives. And everyone's telling stories about this person they interacted with, but they don't know where he is. And I just think that was a beautiful way of exploring this place and exploring living at the end. Because I don't know about you guys, but it feels rough out there. And I think sometimes reading neutral to optimistic, fatalistic stories is good for me. Next one is Vita Nostra, which wasn't even remotely near any of my top books, but I think about this one a lot. I even own a physical copy of it. This is probably one of the horror books that made me realize I kind of like horror. Now, is it completely horror? I don't know, but it's like kind of that psychological horror. So if you ever want to feel as untethered as a main character while reading a book, I think this is one of those types of immersive experiences. We have someone who on a vacation is told they have to do a thing or else their family will be harmed, and they do the thing and then they're allowed to go to the school which they have to go to or their family will be harmed. And the school is wild. Like what they have to study, we don't really know. It's very untethered and it's very confusing. And like while you read the book, you feel like the character reading the books while she's studying for class. Like you feel like, what is happening? I feel like I'm so close to grasping it. And no, I haven't read the sequels, nor will I. Because some of the charm of this book is making your own decisions on what it all means. And I don't want it spelled out for me, because I don't think I would like it as much if things were spelled out for me. We then have The Changeling, my first Victor Laval. So good. Not my favorite, but my first. So, you know, it does. And this is like a really good dark fairy tale horror blend. Like it's half horror, half dark fairy tale, very Pan's Labyrinth. Oh, so good. In the Dream House. So I think on my last list, I did talk about Her Body and Other Parties. In the Dream House is her memoir. It's written kind of in prose and in verse. It's a combination, lots of little vignettes. It's very good. And I think reading it in conversation with Her Body and Other Parties is phenomenal. So good. A short story collection, How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. Phenomenal. Like, I think I've read parts of it twice because I was going to New Orleans, so I read the New Orleans stories again, and I've read some in other collections. It's just a very great short story collection. I don't think I love it as much as others because it's a bit long. But that said, I own it and I think about rereading it, so I could see, like, in 5 years, if I reread it again, it could creep up. It's not the short story collection I put in my top 10, but it was close. And then this one was inches away from the top 10. Inches. And this is the whole Memoirs of Lady Trent series, which, yes, there's a Kickstarter. Yes, I've seen it. I don't know if I'm backing it, okay? Like, space and money, okay? But Memoirs of Lady Trent were truly an audiobook delight for me in 2021. I think I read most of, if not all of it, in that year, and I just had a blast. So this, I guess I would recommend it to people who are right now liking the Encyclopedia of Fairies, except Lady Trent is so much cooler, in my opinion. And I think studying dragons is cooler than studying fae. That said, I just think there is a lot of tonal overlap. So if you like one, you might like the other. That said, I really like Memoirs of Lady Trent, and I only kind of like encyclopedias, so maybe this is like just more like tropes overlap. But in the first book, she wants to study dragons. I think it's Victorian England inspired, but I get Victorian, Edwardian, and Regency all mixed up. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm not very good at it. But think of that era, old era England. So she can't do her own scientific research though, because patriarchy. And so she ends up in a marriage of convenience and she gets to go do this thing. And then events spiral so that she does become Lady Trent, the person who knows the most about dragons. And you see how she balances wanting to do her science, balances her family, balances the people and relationships she meets along the way, learning how to not stumble as much as she does as she enters other domains and cultures, because she is still a white person invading spaces of other people, and it doesn't always go well. There's kind of sort of this overarching meta arc, but it's not like really there. It's just fun. It was delightful. I highly, highly recommend the audiobooks. I had so much fun. Like, it doesn't really stick with me other than the memory of, yeah, I liked when I had that cozy time reading that audiobook. Okay, so now we're in the top 10. Top 10. First, New Sons, short story anthology. I freaking love the New Sons anthologies. Now, I probably like How Long Till Black Future Month more as a whole, but the New Sons anthologies truly impress me to no end. Okay, they are so tight, they are so well curated. I love how the covers look. So I think, given the two of them, this is the one that edges it out a tiny bit. And then we have The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. I read this in like 24 hours. This is a sci-fi thriller-ish. I say thriller, there's not really a twist, but it is like edge of your seat. And I don't even know if it's edge of your seat plot-wise, but like I was propulsively turning pages, so there's that. We have a woman who does a lot of scientific research. She's kind of that cold, standoffish female scientist character. And one day, her clone that her husband made shows up asking for help. Now this clone was probably unethically made, right? And it's about their relationship, what they're trying to accomplish because of what the clone tells her. And more insidiously, it's our main character reflecting on her past and making decisions, and you coming to terms with like, wait, what is happening here? I find the ending chilling. I really loved the ending. That was one of those endings where I put the book down, I thought about it, I walked around a bit, I looked at it again, I texted someone I knew who had read it, I talked to Ryan about it. I was just like, what? I don't know if it would still hold up on a reread, but I really liked reading it, and I did buy myself a copy when it was on sale. Next up is Sorrowland by River Solomon, who is an author I love. This is probably still my favorite by them. This is a great blend of classic horror and sci-fi with themes of community and belonging and recovering from trauma. Our main character, I believe, is intersex and has just had 2 children in the woods and is running away from a community that has abused her, and it's about the people she meets along the way. It's about the sci-fi shenanigans that were done to her. There's a lot of mystery that propulses this forward. There's a lot of bad things in the past catching up to you. I think there's a visceralness to a River Solomon character that's just like hard to look away from. You're just captivated by how strikingly themselves they are, and it's just hard to not fall into them, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down. I found it completely gripping. And then we've got The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson, still to this day one of the strongest debuts I've ever read. And I don't think it was recognized enough for how strong it was. This is about multi-dimensions. You can only go to a dimension if you're already dead there, and this character, because of systemic racism and society, is dead on most worlds. And so she works for this agency to travel. There are twists, there are turns. It is thematically deeper than I suspect. It just lightly touches on so many things, and I think the whole is so impressive to me. Just the themes of corporations and capitalism and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas of different dimensions and the paths you chose and how you define yourself, who you choose to lean on. The whole, like, two cities, the domed city and the outside city, and the imperialism theme. I will read anything Micaiah Johnson writes. That's truly where we're at. Okay, this section is just called Nikki Drayden, because I read all of Nikki Drayden, I believe, in 2021. And to this day, such an underrated sci-fi author. Oh my goodness, people. Get on it. Do you want a weird time? Do you want a page-turner time? What are we doing here? Let's see. I read Pray the Gods First. That was wild. I loved it. Takes place in South Africa. It just... I don't even know how to genre explain it. It is contemporary day. There's weird genetic things happening. There also are gods, fantastical things, and also techie things like with AI. It's a blend of a lot of fun stuff, and I think it actually worked really well. We have Symbiosis and Escaping Exodus, which are about spaceships, different types of culture on a whale in space. And it's about like the changing of the guard and changing of culture, and it's cool. And then Temper, which is just like a really dark horror time. Not really dark, but it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark. Takes place in winter if you want like a winter cold possession adjacent story. I just think, like I said, I can't put her books down. They are page turners. They are like 300 to 400 pages, and they grab me, and I am in till the end. All right, top 5. These should not shock anyone. These should just be like, oh my gosh, you read all of these in 2021, Angela? What are we doing? Starting with The Unbroken. 3rd book comes out this year, guys. Let's get pumped. The Sovereign. The Unbroken was one of, I think of these top 5, it was maybe my 2nd biggest surprise because I had been avoiding it. I only read it to buddy read it with friends who wanted to read it. But I was like, low magic, military sci-fi. I don't know if that's for me. I was instantly captured by C.L. Clarke's writing, which is coincidentally the thing that some people don't like. I think it can be a little fragmented and it can a little jump around, but it like works exactly in sync with how my brain works. So for no other reason other than if you really want to know how my brain processes, how that book's written is essentially the sentences you see in my head. I don't know. It's like a perfect mesh. I also think the themes are done so well. Everything is so realistic. I love Turen so much. I still know how I feel about Luca. But Turen, love her. I'm so excited for the 3rd book. I get to reread that soon this summer. We then have The Jasmine Throne, which has been finished since last year. So I've read The Jasmine Throne since 2021 3 times. So yeah, I really like that book. It's just so lush and descriptive, and you feel the humidity and the stick, and I think it doesn't let the themes get away from it. It has a lot of themes of revolution and imperialism that can be done in a really hokey way, and I think they're done in a very grounded way here. I think my only complaint is not even in the 1st book, it's in the 3rd book of like, man, the world is so cool, and I would like to understand the coolness more. You know, I just would like to know. And then, this is probably the biggest surprise of 2021. Like, because I knew I'd like it, but I didn't know that I would love it as much as I did. And that's The Best of All Possible Worlds by Karen Lord. I think I've now read this book 3 times. Maybe only twice. I love this book. And when I read it, I wasn't thinking much about it. It was just the next book that was on my Kindle. I was going to read it while I went to the gym. It was like a Friday after work. I'm like, I have some time to kill before the bus shows up. I picked it up. I started reading it. The first chapter is a little weird. It's 3rd person, but I'm like, huh, interesting. But the minute I was with our main character, Grace, I was like, I'm in. I'm completely in. And there's no real hook for it. Like, I don't know why I was so in, but I couldn't put it down for the entire weekend, and it was Valentine's Day weekend, and I was so emotionally invested and captivated by this group of people. I always kind of call it like a Star Trek Becky Chambers adjacent book. Like if you like one or both of those things, or maybe you want to like Becky Chambers but you don't, you might like this, where we have a planet that's taking in these refugees. And the first thing that captured my imagination was that instead of forcing these refugees into the frame of the society was making space for them. Being like, so what do you guys want? Do you want your own space? Do you want to be integrated with other people? We know you have these marriage practices. Do you want us to try to find people who are okay with those practices? Or do you want to assimilate to the... Like, it was a conversation. It wasn't... And we don't do that. We don't... And so that was my first instinct was like, wow. The imagination to vocalize this approach was beautiful to me. And then they make a decision, and so they're trying to find people who might be okay with joining their community, because one of the big parts of this refugees is they're mostly men. They lost most of their women because of what happened in the war. And so we're traveling to different cultures that are genetic match, because people have kind of diverged into like 3 types of genetic people with some psychic abilities. And it's kind of episodic, and we're traveling and we're meeting people, and there is this overarching arc of how these relationships forms, much like when you watch a procedural TV show, and you can feel this platonic and then romantic connection forming and growing, and it's beautiful, and I love it so much. So anyways, that was a huge surprise for me, and I talk about it all the time, so you're not surprised that it's on this list. The next 2 are also not surprising. I read the entire Live Ship Traders in 2021, and that's every book's 5 stars. Every book's 5 stars. No notes. I mean, there are complaints people have, and I think they're valid, but I don't have those complaints, therefore, no notes. It used to be that the last book was like a 4.75 asterisk. Like, I didn't like one thing, but then I read the rest of The Realm of the Elderlings, and I'm like, okay, you also don't like that one thing, so we good. We're good. Yeah, I adore. I think down here to my side, I bought the hardbacks, the originals from the 90s. Those are my special editions. I won them in an eBay auction. I was like, am I going to win this? I adore them. Of all of Realm of the Elderlings, those are the ones I am most likely to reread. And then my favorites, Mask of Mirrors. Now, I've since read the whole trilogy. Obviously, when I wrote this list, Mask of Mirrors was the only book that was out, and it is my favorite of the series, for sure. I read that 3 times. I love the audiobooks. I love physically reading it. I love Catwoman, Batwoman type fan fiction. And I don't think it's that, but it's like, it's close to that. There's a cat. It's just, and this was my first arc. That's another big thing. 2021 was the year that I decided to read arcs. This was my first arc. And I was so lucky that my first arc was like a 5-star read. That doesn't happen. I just picked it up because I was like, well, of all the books that are currently about, because January is kind of like not a big release month, and this came out in January, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And then that was that perfect moment of like when you pick up a big fantasy book and you just want to fall into it. I fell into it. All right, by chapter 3, I'm like, I'm in. Now, it has ballroom politics. I'm a sucker for ballroom politics. I always have been, always will be. There's the whole mystery of who's the rook. Like, it's just, it was so good. It was like watching TV, but in a book. I had such a good time. So yeah, 2021, a great year. So many highs, so many formative, yeah, Angela's a booktuber, yells about these books. All right here. And yeah, let me know what you think. Is there anything you think I'm forgetting from 2021? I don't think I am. That said, I didn't like scroll through my entire story graph of that year. I'd basically just go through all my top 10 videos. I can also tell that 2020 and 2021 were stronger because I used to be able to make multiple top 10 videos. As we keep going, I'm unable to. Oops. That's just what happens. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a mask for the Mask of Mirrors. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.